Welcome to the Daily Loot, your go-to source for all things gaming. Whether you're a casual gamer or a diehard fan, we've got you covered with the latest news, reviews, and analysis from the gaming world. So sit back, grab your controller, and get ready for a daily dose of gaming goodness. This is the Daily Loot, and we are glad you're here.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Loot episode 8, and today it's going to be a special episode. I know I say that every episode, but this one I can feel is going to be special. So recently we had the chance to play Corepunk Test Phase 2, I would say it's called, Corepunk Test Phase 2, and more than just me got invited to this playtest, and I've actually brought 3 of them today to talk about the feedback of Corepunk playtest and how it felt and what we all see the future of Corepunk is going to look like. So should we not just jump out in it? The first guest I'm having today, well, we have them all at the same time, but the first guest I'm going to introduce is a dear friend I've been knowing for a long time. He makes content about Corepunk, games, and he's also very creative, like he's doing animation, blendering and stuff like that. Very creative. But everyone, please say hello to our first guest, Blackout.
Hello.
Woo.
Howdy.
So excited. And our second guest, well, actually, second guest and third guest is kind of tied together, not like with blood, but they're kind of tied together because they are both coming from a YouTube channel called Corepunk Podcast. So that's like the you can say the two main hosts from the Corepunk podcast. We actually have the honor of being inviting over here. But the first one we're going to introduce is Stumble Through. Everyone, say hello to Stumble Through.
Hello. Cheers for having us. It's an honor to be here. You'll have to excuse me. Christmas has come early at my house today. We've been putting up the Christmas tree for our daughter. So yeah, here I am in full festive gear. So yeah.
Amazing. Did you manage to finish your full Christmas thing at the house, or do you still have something outstanding?
We've done the Christmas tree. We just need to do the other rooms. It's just the one room of the house has been completely turned into Christmas.
Oh, I see. Are you also doing those where you have a lot of small characters standing on some places? I don't remember like snow, and then you have small Santa Clauses.
Yeah, no, we've got a few pieces that we put out, but there's no we don't put anything in the front yard or out like that for displays. But yeah.
All right. Okay, so to the last guest we're having today, also again from the Corepunk podcast, you can find him on YouTube/Corepunk podcast. And the third guest, also I've heard stories that he's a legendary Guild Wars 2 player. Just saying. And it is Mike Plays.
Hi, it's me. How are we all doing?
So, all of you 3, thank you so much for joining me. And I actually forgot something. I forgot to tell you where you can find Blackout. I mean, now I told you where you can find Mike and Stumble, which you can find on Corepunk Podcast and YouTube. Of course, you can also find Mike on Twitch with MIK_plays. Mike Plays, and you can find Stumble Through on Twitch also. So twitch.com/StumbleThrough, STUMBLETHRU. Nailed it. And lastly, our first guest I introduced, Blackout. You can actually find, if you want to see his gaming channel, you can find it on YouTube, Blackout Gaming Channel, so youtube.com/Blackout Gaming Channel. Or if you want to see his more creative sides, where he actually do funny animations about dogs and stuff like that, you can find on youtube.com/Blackout Creatively. He's noting. Okay.
He's noting.
Yeah. Well, there's no dogs. I don't think there's any dogs.
Well, you made an animation about a dog that has gonorrhea.
Yeah, the ghost dog or whatever it was. He remembers his own work. It's brilliant. You should go check it out. Yeah, different channel.
All right, so that's one I should call Blurred 3D. So we all 3 got, well, 4. I mean, we 4. I'm also human. So we all four actually got invited into the Corepunk Playtest 2, which we all gonna talk about now. On 2 episodes ago, me and Blackout already kind of talked about the first playtest, but on this playtest, I kind of want to start with Stumble and Mike first, since we already have heard like what me and Blackout thinks about the game. So I'm just picking a random one. Let's start with Stumble, because I know Stumble you played less than Mike, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I just played on the first day. So, yeah, and we've recently just put out an episode, sorry to plug it, but where we've spoken about this. But I came away, and I'm really intrigued to find out your thoughts, both of you, Blackout and you, Dvalin. But I came away a bit frustrated in this playtest. I think because the initial excitement of the idea that we're playing Corepunk had sort of not died down, but became, well, I would say it's died down a bit. It became a bit more obvious of some of the flaws that I was starting to see. And my main problem, how deep do you want me to go into this right now? Do you want me just to give you do you want me to leave it there and let Mike give his first initial impressions? Because I don't want to start rolling off and not let anyone else speak.
We could probably like start with a 1 minute of each, and then we can dive into it.
Yeah. All right. So my main problem with this playtest was the first quest and the way that it's basically the introduction to the game. And I know that it's not been confirmed that this is the introduction yet, but it's been the same in both playtests, and we can only go off what we've been shown. So I'm going to say that this is the introduction to the game, and it's probably what other people will start to see now. And I just think it's set up poorly. I think it could be better refined, and yeah, could just be a bit better. I'll get into why.
All right, let's jump over to Mike. What was your if you could put everything down to 1-2 minutes?
So, second playtest for me, I played as much as I could as well. Similar to playtest 1, where you'd play as many hours as you feasibly can. It was definitely a more buggy playtest, and it'd be interesting to know whether the reasons for that was that because of the multi-server stuff. Obviously they expanded the playtest zones to America and various other places, so that kind of impacted on the gameplay. As I've mentioned it, that I found the way they've communicated second playtest felt a bit backwards with the Discord and the news article coming out after. Had it have been before, I would have understood what the playtest was, if that makes sense. Because I was just trying to do the same, trying to go in with fresh eyes from playtest 1 to playtest 2, but I didn't feel like there was a great load of difference. So overall, I was a bit not downhearted, because obviously they need to test certain bits and that, but my overall impression of it was a kind of, like Carl said, a bit less. I wasn't disillusioned, but I wasn't as enthralled of like, oh well, and I can't wait to play playtest 3 now. I'm ready to play playtest 3, but I'm not like itching, scratching to get there kind of thing. So yeah.
All right. Thanks for that. Let's jump over to Blackout.
I'm super positive about the whole experience, and you might say I'm looking at the thing through rose-tinted spectacles, but I'm struggling to find like fault with the game. And I know you're thinking like, what the hell? There's clearly faults. I've kind of made a lot of excuses for it and a lot of rationale for it and justification in my mind as to why things might be the way they are. I want to kind of think the best that the game could be, not necessarily what we experienced in the game. So, call me out on it if you think I'm.
No, I don't think anyone should call you out. No, I think it's fair to be positive about the game. I think that's why I was frustrated, is because I do feel passionate about the game, and I can see the good in it, like you say. And I just want it to. I just don't want it to keep going down this narrative where I think it could be going. But yeah, I definitely I don't feel like you should feel bad for liking the game. Definitely not. Like,
yeah, but I think there's a limit to how much you should defend something, before you just being unrealistic. But I think, like, within the first sort of hour or so, I had a couple of messages on Discord which probably expressed my frustrations with some of the things. But as the game progressed, I kind of learned new things and my opinion changed quickly. So I think there's a lot that we're missing from the game that helps us understand right from the off.
Did you find maybe as you leveled up then, because you inevitably get more, you get access to more things, don't you? Obviously being stronger, getting artifacts. I don't know if you got artifacts this time round.
Yeah.
Did you find that those things actually were what helped you feel better about the game? Or was it just spending time in the game overall?
So I spent about 22 hours in the game all in all, so I dedicated a lot of time to it and I got to explore a lot of the content. And my journey was kind of split up into two sections. One was solo play and one was group play. And my experience completely changed when we got into the group play. So the whole game was different from the first playtest in terms of NPC locations, NPC items in store, the value of things to buy and sell. Completely brand new game from that perspective. So it was like exploring again, and by myself it was kind of difficult to do that. Just fighting rats and things like that. Very, very hard. Then there was a point that came up where I managed to just get together with three of the guys and we just had an absolute blast, and it was almost like it was a different game. And that's the point where I started to get artifacts, started to level up, complete the quests, have a lot more fun. And then following that, I went back to some chill gathering and completed a few objectives of mine. So it was an interesting mix of different experiences throughout the game.
It's great that you've had that experience because I wanted to have that experience, which is why I was so frustrated. You know what I mean? I would love to be coming away from the playtest and being like, yeah, I had a great time. Like, I really would. And I'm hoping that in playtest 3, I'll be where you are now, How did you feel, Dvalin?
Well, I think playtest 1 for me and the playtest 1 was better for me because I actually grouped up with people. I remember running around with Mike and Blackout and some of the other guys, and we actually had fun. My problem with playtest 1 was probably I just did solo gameplay for like 3 hours. And that solo gameplay just, it was challenging. Like, I was trying to get these rats fur and they never dropped. I tried to go to the trees and get my quest items from the trees. I never got them. I then went into the new forest, which they added to this playtest, and I got killed by 7 wolves, 10 levels higher than me. So I was, I think I'm, it's kind of like, I'm joining the team negative here, because like, not saying you're negative, but I had more negative also feeling like, damn, this game is hard.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting though, isn't it, how from there, because I'd echo your sentiment, and I'm sure Blackout would as well. Like, the group play is drastically different. I remember talking about when we talked about playtest 1, saying how that last kind of 5-6 hours where we did, like Eugene, all of us were just kind of running around the map and like not having to almost worry about the consequence, like it just enjoying that whole thing. And then with Blackout saying like this time, because I didn't do, other than joining up with Carl, and we joined with Harap very briefly for the quest. It's interesting how there is that shift, and they talk about it in the article, don't they, that they want it to be rewarding for solo or for group play. But obviously, from what we've seen, maybe that balance just isn't refined yet, which I guess we wouldn't expect it to be. Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. Because like from my experience with like the rat quest, for example, when I got to like level 6, then that was when I completed the rat quest, and I was fighting between 3 and 5 rats at one time, no problem. So
See, that's
when you
interesting. That's
when you
very
get
different, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. When you get presented with that quest so very early on in the game, then you expect that you should be able to complete it early on in the game, but that's not the case.
That's not the case.
And
No.
whether that's just been set up for the playtest or whether that's going to be in the actual game as it is, I don't know. But I've got a strong feeling, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think this whole environment that we're in is a complete, utter, just like a test environment that's been built specifically for us, and it's the care and attention hasn't been put into this test environment that will be put into the final game. Just when you
Yeah.
look at the map, you've got a lot of clues there to think like, okay, yeah, they've just created this town dead quick from assets that they've already got. Then they've just expanded the territories with AI generated maps and such, and it just feels very. And I hope that that I'm right on this, and it's, they are going to change this for the actual release, but it doesn't feel like a game. It feels like a test environment.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not.
certainly said that. Like
Yeah,
play test, I was like, well, what am I playing and what am I testing? Because
Yeah.
they don't sync up. And again, the fun being made from other people in the game, like you say, you joining up with 3 other people and having a completely different experience. That's really crucial to an MMO because they are meant to be multiplayer. That's the very nature of them, isn't it? And if you're going to have 2 very different, like Dvalin said, play 3 hours solo, and what he took away from it to probably the 3 hours you took with a group, like,
yeah.
how do you sell that to the MMO market? It's quite a difficult thing and
I
balance.
I w-
Sounds like.
I hoped it was like Blackout said, that it was like a testing environment that we'd been chucked into, and that is why the first quest in the playtest didn't work. But I'm now starting to believe that it isn't. This is going to be the introduction, because we've seen this area before in the professions video, so I don't think it was just made for the playtest, because it's the exact same area from that play that they've been played in. And yeah, and now that they've opened up the area and you can now start to play through the first quest, it seems like they would be there. They could have just dropped the asset and dropped the guy in, but they would have done that for playtest 1, I think. If you know what I mean, if to find the brother out in the forest, if it was just a generated area, they could have just dropped him in at any point, couldn't they, and made sure that quest worked. But I think when they've put that radiation round and cornered off the area for the playtest, they forgot that, to continue that quest, he's actually over there. But
So
hopefully, I hope.
Sorry, go ahead. I cut you off there.
No, I'm just saying. No, it's fine. I was just saying. I hope it is. I hope there is better to come. But I sound really negative. My open statement here sounds awfully negative. I'm like you two. Like, once we abandoned this first quest of the game, which I had my major issue with, and me and Mike started to go and kill some rats and blah blah blah, there's a lot of fun there. And the rework in the mana and how much the mana cost for each skill that they'd done for playtest 2 was great. I was playing as a warmonger this time, and I could throw my spear a good few times before needing to worry about running out of mana. And that just felt great. So, it's just that, I guess it's just that solo that we keep coming back to. The solo play needs to be tweaked. And
Yes, the question and the maps and such. Do you remember the quest you get very early on about the guy who's looking for his crew, and you have to give him the coordinates?
Yeah, the astronaut lad.
Yeah, the astronaut. Yeah.
So like they moved that guy from his location to a different location, which doesn't sound really significant, but I think it just highlights the point that the map probably is a test environment that they do use for these things. And one of the things that I've noticed in all of the other media that they've put out officially, there's like a lot of verticality in the maps, and these maps were just flat. There was no levels to them. It was just flat, sprawling woods that were densely packed with a range of different level mobs. And I don't think anybody who spent like 8 years designing the game would be like, yeah, that's fine. That's an adequate map.
Yeah, well,
think it's
that's the worry, isn't it? That like, and I hope you're right, because yeah, if they haven't, then we're in trouble, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I just feel like from everything we've seen, like the level of detail that's gone into everything, it doesn't match what we saw in this playtest.
You're definitely right there.
Absolutely
100%.
right. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, yeah. And that's what's so frustrating. And I think we said that it's like it's after because Eugene came out and then it explained a bit of the core mechanics and what they're going for, which cleared up a lot of the confusion for a lot of people with this playtest, which is great. But like I said, at what point are we going to start seeing what the real representation of the game is going to be? Because all these playtests are doing now, well, for me personally, is starting to sour what I think Corepunk is going to be and what they've sort of put it across as. Like, my main issue, and I'll bring it up really quickly because I went on a rabbit hole on our cast the other day about it. But the first quest, I'm one of them people who, when I start a brand new game, I'm going to follow the quest line for a bit. So then I can get into the world and learn the narrative and learn my character. And if you follow the first quest line where you head into the village to go meet the guy, and then he tells you to go find his brother west of where you are, you're then led into a level 10 area where you got killed by wolves, Dvalin, and there's just no way that you can do that without then trying to grind to get the levels up so you can complete the first quest. That's insane. And I know that people will be like, oh, well, it's a difficult game and blah, blah, blah. But it's sort of like trying to think of some examples of stuff. So say Zelda, that's got a similar quest mechanic. There is no instructions. The new Zelda Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, you just go out and figure it out for yourself, like they want you to do in Corepunk. But the difference is that from the off, you're given everything that you need to complete anything in that game, pretty much, other than sort of the shrine mechanics that, you know. But if you wanted to go and beat Ganon from the off, you could do it with just dodging, parrying, and a branch. But in Corepunk, you can't do that. If I go into the level 10 area, I haven't got a dodge or a roll mechanic or anything like that can get me out of the way of those level 10 wolves doing their lunge attack. You know what I mean? So the only way I can get through that area is either legging it and getting lucky or leveling. I haven't got the tools to be able to complete it any other way, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's the frustration for me.
I want to comment on that one because that's also when I talk with Blackout about it, it's one of my main points that when you boot up a new game, you buy a new game, the first 10-30 minutes is your important time. That's like the time where you're still thinking, should I refund this game? Should I keep this game? Especially if you buy it on Steam, because you know you need to test it for 2 hours, or else you have to refund it. Exactly. You need to 2 hours, and it just has to be good. And if we're going to talk about his article later, so we can, because that's going to help out, but because that's the next slide. But for me, and I join you on this one, it's Stumble, because when you go into a game and you normally play an MMO, like for real, any MMO you play, the first quest you get, you always complete it. It's always something like, help the cows over there in Guild Wars, kill the boars over there in like outside Orgrimmar, or kill 10 wolves. It's always something easy that just like get you into the game, where this one felt a bit off balanced. And I agree with you, like going into that forest and trying to find that brother, it was like impossible in low level. I mean, you could do it because you could keep dying and just spawn later longer.
Yeah.
He was so deep into that forest though. Like
insanely deep. Crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it's brilliant,
minutes.
that map. Like the addition they added 100% was like, oh, like you can kind of get the scale of the world now. Like, if I know we've talked about this being a playtest area, but like if that's the kind of space we're talking about, the game will be big, huge. It's going to be fantastic cities. But yeah, that whole thing of like the quest intention is definitely not death hopping between the shrines, and B, it really far. Like we were running, I think we said 10-15 minutes, and maybe it wasn't, but it was definitely like 8 or 9 minutes of us just sprinting, dodging wolves, dodging boars, and then just like, oh, we're here now. And then it was like, oh, you go kill all these things. And it's like, what level are these things? Ah, they're 7 levels ahead of you. Good luck. And you're like,
Yeah.
right, cool.
The biggest problem, I think, is like, and this is what Stumble says about souring the experience. I think there's not enough like managing of our expectations when we go into the game, not letting us know what it is specifically they want us to test, what sort of feedback they want. I mean, like if they just want us to run around like headless chickens and see how we react, and but that seems like more of a psychological investigation rather than testing the system.
That's exactly what I said on our podcast. Was exactly the same thing. Is either you want us to play the game and we discover the game, which I don't think this is. But if you're going to have a structured playtest where you are hoping these specific things are playtested, like we'll talk about with playtest 3, no doubt, is that is crafting based. So I'm already going into next playtest with a vision of what is expected of me. Whereas in this one, I felt like it was, like you say, more headless chicken than structured playtest.
The most frustrating thing that I found from this whole experience was that after I submitted my feedback, that was the first point that I learned that the health and mana systems, the regen systems, were working as intended. Yeah. And that annoyed me because like I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what scenario it was that the health and mana systems were broken. And that was wasted time because they were working as expected. And if we'd known that at the beginning, especially after we've had the first test where we complained about the regen, why was this information not given to us to help us play through the game without getting frustrated? Then surely they're not trying to experiment on us whether we figure it out or not. Surely they want us to test the actual systems. Like, they don't need to know our IQ. They need to see how the game functions. So give us that information, give us that knowledge in advance, and let us try these systems out. And
I think patch notes would be great to have going into each test. I know that someone said, patch notes in a play test would be crazy, but I think just to be able to see what they've implemented from one to this, you know what I mean? They're doing the work anyway. Yeah, a summary
and expectations.
This is what's working. This is what we know isn't working. So just be careful around that. They do that anyway. Like, I think they already said
tell us about the bugs, don't they?
They tell us about the bugs.
What had changed.
No.
You don't need to. It's not like a secret society of like, oh, well, you need to go and work out the mysteries of what we've implemented. Like Blackout said, if they'd have told me before the playtest, it's 90% and up, you get a bit of regen, I would have already played playtest 2. Just a bit different, and with the knowledge and not getting angry, writing several pages of notes about different regens, trying to work, like you say, trying to work out what it is that I need to do to make this work. When in reality, all I needed to know was 90% and above. Happy days.
Yeah, I thought it was the fire type. Like, I thought maybe like the more rare the fire type, the more it would give you that regen or something. Yeah. But
did you hear about Mike discovering about the stats with food as well, and the recipes that you can create? Dvalin, can I just say that you're eating an orange? Is that for the orange Corepunk heads in the chat right now? Is that look at that?
Subliminal is they've infiltrated. Get them out!
They've infiltrated the cast.
What was the foods?
So again, and I know we're going on to the article, the hindsight of the communication of what was in that article and the playtest, they needed to be the other way around, because they talk about how for playtest 2, they have implemented more recipes. And the reality of that is that the recipes that were implemented were broken or not fixed. I'm aware I'm frozen. I've frozen in time because like the one I used the example of was Big Bob Burgers, because the Big Bob burger gave you 3.1% for 10 seconds regen, but required 5 different items. One of them, which is bread, which gives you 3.1 health regen for 10 seconds. So what's the point?
Yeah.
So like, I'll try and fix my webcam. I'm not sure.
That could be a balance issue, though. Just like
But
placeholder items.
why implement? Yeah, but why implement saying we've added these recipes for you to try when they don't?
Maybe to get us to try the crafting system in, not necessarily like in a min-max. Do all of them perhaps work? So I know there were items which are, preferable over other items, like
which is always going to be the case. There'll always be the meta food and the meta stuff. It was just very interesting that it again. Had I have known they told us, oh, we're adding recipes and try them out before I played. But yeah,
I tell you what, though, if you weren't eating hazelnuts, then you're doing it wrong. Hazelnuts was
Hazelnuts where it's at.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah, they were bugged.
Oh right, were they?
Literally, like you forage, get a hazelnut, sit down by a fire, eat a hazelnut, instant full health regen. It was something like 900 health regen per second or something.
Amazing.
So,
wow.
And the silkworm as well. So that was kind of like what people ended up doing was like sharing out the nuts. You got me any good stuff, a
bunch of squirrels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like,
So before we talk on or jump on, let's just go into. We're not jumping into the topic of the future of Corepunk, but because we keep referring back to this article that Eugene, or actually I know it's Pishak who wrote it. It doesn't say in the bottom, but I just know. So Pishak, he wrote this inside. Pishak, he wrote this article here, which was shared on Corepunk's website. And you guys probably remember it more than me. But basically, when first time I read this article, I got a bit upset because I felt like it was kind of Eugene or Pishak's way saying, get good. Like, get good, stop complaining. But then I read it one more time very slowly. And I was like, wait a minute. Basically, what they're telling us is this game is not like, wow, Guild Wars, Elder Scrolls Online, where you just log in and you play. And in 5 minutes, you have killed everything and you are now a god. This game is supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be a game where you actually, you die a couple of times to actually achieve it. I don't know if like any of you can put better words on that article.
I think that's great. I do, but I think you also need to respect that sometimes people like myself now, a new father, I'll only get a couple of hours to be able to play. So I want to be able to make sure that I feel like I've achieved something with that 2 hours. I don't see what I'd be able to accomplish too much at the moment in the game, other than some like basic quests, like go pick up the weeds, blah, blah, blah. But I don't feel like I'd be able to see any good content at the moment. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just feel like it'd be really hard to just play, to jump on, play an hour or whatever. But
it's an interesting analogy you've done there, though, because you talked about your being a dad. Like, as a kid, you have your hand held because you need to learn about the world. You don't have a kid and go, great, out into the real world you go, because it's big, it's scary, you do have to survive. Like, you hold their hand, you educate them, you teach them things, and then you let them go out into the world. And I feel like Corepunk needs almost that equivalent, because the game can be hard and harsh and hardcore and horizontal progression. All the things they said in the article, brilliant. But you need, like, I think you touched upon it before, Stumble, just saying, like, you need the tools to do that. And at the moment, I don't feel like we're given that foundation building block, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It's like you said, though, like... Sorry, Blackout, go on.
I was going to say, I can strengthen that point even more by saying that they do need that education there, because there was a game-breaking bug, which the devs are aware of, which resulted in me having to restart my character, so I ended up on my 3rd character. So as you can imagine, I did the first part of the game, done it several times now.
3 times.
Yeah, plus the experiences from the previous playtest as well. So I managed to get the the first 4 levels down to about, I don't know, 45 minutes. You know,
Really?
because of my experience, because I knew what to do, you know, I just, you know, smashed it out. You know, got the things I needed, got to level 4, no problem. And
that's impressive because I didn't expect that.
Yeah, and that just shows that it's possible. You just need that education. You need that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was self-education, which is fine. But how many people
New
who
players
aren't
don't
as
have that.
passionate about Corepunk like us lot,
Yeah.
they download, play it, and then go, the fuck is this? Like, play 10 minutes and go, I've died 10 times. And like Dvalin said, I know it's not going to be on Steam, but your informative impressions of the game are within those first 2 hours. That's why they have that refund mechanic, because your mind's made up, isn't it? Whether you choose to give it another go, whether you know that's your own choice. But within that first 10-15 minutes, if I've tried to kill a rat, which in every other MMO is like the beginning, it's the classic trope. Even in D&D, it's like, oh, you're in a tavern, oh, I've got rats in my cellar, if only we had a hardy crew to kill all these rats. And then you go down, kill the rats, and everyone goes, hey, you're the village hero now. Like, even that's hard in this. Like you say, you like killing rats in like the difference between you saying level 6, level 5 when you were killing 3 to 5 of them.
Level 6, I think.
Level
it was.
6.
Yeah.
So like, which is fine. That sounds like how I imagine the quest to be. But then as a level 1 blast medic, where the only reason I survived even killing him is kiting, which isn't what I want to be doing anyway. Like, I didn't pick that class so I can furiously click away and then do one grenade and then furiously click away and just like. So yeah, we need a bit of hand holding.
I think it spoke like volumes. I'm going to open the secret chat that we have now, Dvalin. When you said after this playtest that you thought that this was turning out to be a game that, you know, you weren't fully invested in, and you're like the president of Corepunk, can't you? So, you know, like, I don't know if that was exactly what you said. I can't remember what was the statement. You said it was shaping up to be something that might not sit right with you or something like that from the second playtest. And I imagine now we've all changed that opinion. If we're coming away, and especially you, if we're coming away from this initial playtest feeling like that, then it's got to start ringing some alarm bells over there that, oh wait, maybe we do need to tweak a few things here.
Well, I mean, when you go back in time and look at those trailers they first, announced on their YouTube channel, the first one, I know they said, it's a hard game, but they all say that. They showed, they running around in all these cool places. They did some PvP, they did some dungeons. The first thing I was like, oh my god, this is a new theme park MMO. I could do dungeons and battlegrounds. It's gonna be so fun and easy. And then we see another video where they run around those two people. If you remember that one, the 15 minutes one.
Yeah, the alpha, yeah.
Exactly. They were running again around and it didn't seem like they had a bad, hard time. They were just killing. I mean, they freaking 2 people killed 7 mobs and a boss at the same time. It looked easy. It looks nice. And then they had this other video with 4 people running around killing all these big groups of mobs, and they did pretty well too. Sometimes they died.
Yeah, a couple died, but you'd expect that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
They went for the healer. They beelined for the healer because that was when they were showcasing how the AI works out. Who to attack, wasn't it? And it showcased that so well.
Yeah.
Because then it gives you the thing, like you say, when you're playing the Warmonger, to intercept those things. Like, it showed those mechanics, but they don't. Really,
And to finish on that one, all those videos, they kind of, they kind of shaped my head on how I saw this game. They showed me that this game is a PvP game with a lot of group content and tons of things you can do. They never mentioned that you have to eat food all the time, you have to drink all the time, you have to do professions all the time. Because I know me and other people, we don't like professions. We just want to play the game and kill stuff and maybe go to a tavern and buy some bread and just again kill. But if this game is suddenly shaping into a game where I have to craft, I can slowly see myself passing away. But I don't want to say already now this game is not for me. I still want to see.
No, sorry. I don't want to say that. I was saying that for you. Definitely not. But I did, just for you to have that feeling. I thought, that's starting to speak volumes, you know.
Yeah, because I kind of was expecting, oh my god, I'm gonna love this game. I'm gonna do so much content about it. Blah 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 blah. I'm gonna do content about this game rest of our life. But can you imagine like a scenario where it actually releases and you're like, I don't like it.
Yeah, well, that's sort of my frustration with this one, is because I was just like, because on the first playtest, I was into everything. Like Mike was a bit more frustrated in the first one, and I was very much like, oh, this is the best thing ever, like, and then this one, I was just sat there going, oh, fucking hell, like, this is really hard. Why is this set up like that? Why it just sort of like, just getting really frustrated with some of the ideas, and I was just like, but hopefully, I don't expect it to stay the way we've experienced it at all. And the beauty of the frustration is that we can all see that there's a great game there. There's just a lot of stuff clouding that at the moment. But I do think by the time it comes out to everyone, I think this is still going to be a great game. I 100% intend to play this still, and I'm really excited for Playtest 3. It's just, yeah, that's the frustration. It's just that it's the communication of it all, and just sort of like, and like we said, we'll get in the article thing, but now we know what they're going for. Playtest 3 will be played in a completely different manner, and I imagine I'll love it.
So, Blackout, you deserve to say something positive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that this game is what we've played. I don't think that's the game. I'm pretty convinced that we've only seen like maybe 0.01% of the systems that they've got in place, the way that it plays out. Because like, it just feels like, imagine a big complicated computer system in a sci-fi ship, and they've just like ripped out one console and said, okay, well, this does like 3 functions, and that's what that console does, and like, oh well, this is a crap spaceship or whatever. You haven't seen the rest of it, and we don't know how it's going to work with everything else. And I don't think that it's not a theme park game, because we haven't seen what we know. There's dungeons, for instance, don't we? We know there's all these different areas that they've promised us, different factions and dungeons and different content. So I mean, like, I don't see why it wouldn't be that theme park. And the idea of having to, craft. I don't think that's going to be a thing. We've got all the different professions you can do, the different masteries that you can choose. Like, what would be the point in choosing like 3 masteries which are focused on combat, when you have to cook? There is a mastery for gathering, from what I remember. So it kind of shows that you've got different directions that you can go down in the game. And I expect what will happen is there'll be people that will be dedicated to gathering, crafting, making foods, cooking. There'll be people that will be making artifacts, which we've not even seen anything of. You can't be expected to do everything, surely, because you can only pick 3 masteries. So, and I know you, Dvalin, love to like go out and kill stuff and do dungeons and raids and things like that, and you don't want to mess around with all the building your vampire castle and cutting down trees and this, that, and the other. So there'll be people there that do enjoy that. That'll be able to just sell you the foods that you need. Yeah, you're going to need food because that's just how it works. But you're not going to have to like chop down trees and craft it yourself, or maybe 1 or 2, while you're out and about on a hunt. But it's not going to be the biggest focus of the game, not unless you want it to, unless you make it that way.
That's super interesting how you've worded that, because I think that has just formed my idea of the future of Corepunk. I think the reason why maybe I feel the way I feel after Playtest 2 is not only the communication side of it, because I do think that can be better, because I think it clears up a lot. Like, that article cleared up a lot. When Eugene jumped in the Discord, it helped just make sense of the situation we're in. But how you put it there is, up until these 2 playtests, which, bear in mind, 2 months, like tiny part of this year, everything up until that point we have been told is going to be what you just explained. So I think when you then log in, and we had the amazing privilege to be the first to play it, and we've been invited back for the second playtest, because, like you say, the 99.9% of the game isn't there, I think maybe in my mind, I was expecting to maybe see those things. And because I haven't, that's left me frustrated because I do like crafting. I'm going to love the next playtest. Like dungeons, like the fact that we couldn't all party up and do a dungeon and see a town, see all the things that we've seen in trailers, the discussions, the lore. Love the fact that we're going to be doing Elenian, Quadari, Faden, Yornas, all that stuff, because none of that exists in the playtest, which I guess we shouldn't expect, but I think when we spent 3-4 years loading our minds ready for these things, to then not get our hands on them or not even see an implementation of them in some way, like the talent system you talked about, the 2 playtests, and if we're focusing on just killing rats, maybe those talent systems, maybe those artifacts are the things that actually make the game what they say it was. So
that was my point with playtest 1. My point was playtest 1 was everyone was saying about their health and the mana regeneration, but then we looked at the artifacts that we've seen in the screenshots that they put out, which give you a base health and mana regeneration. So it was sort of like saying, well, yes, in the playtest, this is an issue now, but once we have the open game and we can get them artifacts, it won't be an issue because you'll then have mana and health regeneration anyway. But it's the fact that, yeah, we're closed off at this moment into this playtest, and it just goes back to that point of, well, there's only so long we can stay in this zone without it souring everyone's experience because we're not getting access to those other core mechanics that better the game experience. You know, like the craft, like the talent trees, like the artifacts. I think hopefully after playtest 3, if it's just hopefully it's a bigger expansion again and we get the access to the crafting. But after playtest 3, you'd hope to be starting dungeons and stuff like that. So go on, Dvalin.
So what you just said reminds me of a private conversation I had with Blackout recently. Because we were talking about the TV series, I think Breaking Bad. Wasn't it the one we talked about?
Yes, yeah.
Was it Breaking Bad?
We talked about Breaking Bad recently, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, we talked about Breaking Bad, where Blackout's friend kept saying to Blackout, just keep watching, it gets better. And that kind of reminds me of Corepunk, like what you're saying, Stumble. That actually reminds me, I can imagine you getting your friend into Corepunk, and he's like, oh, this game is so hard, I'm dying, I have no health regeneration. And you're like, keep playing, you'll get there. When you get to level 30, it's gonna be fun. Just keep playing. So it's kind of
Carl touched on that as well in the podcast, saying like they talk about how it's natural. You don't need to rush leveling up. It's horizontal, which is great because I love horizontal progression. I don't like the fact that you have to race to the top. I like the journey. It's an adventure. But when you are faced with those things of like, just get the artifacts, just get this recipe and it'll be great. Just get a game-breaking hazelnut and the game suddenly changes. Like, those are things you shouldn't have to sell to anyone. Like, to be like, this game's good, but it's only good if you've got this artifact, this thing. Oh, and by the way, once you start killing these mobs, but they're level 10, they actually drop great things. And it's like, that contradicts, and Carl said this in the podcast, like, it contradicts the nature of, like, if you want to just chill out at level 3, you can chill out at level 3. And it's like, yeah, but I can only do such a tiny amount of things.
You can't do the first quest at level 3, you know what I mean? So you have to then level. But it's the WoW problem. It's the World of Warcraft problem of, come and play this game, but you need 20 add-ons. You know what I mean? It's just like, the game's great, but you need to get this add-on.
Then.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Blackout. Have I just enraged you?
Yeah. I like to keep things simple.
Yeah, keep it simple, but just give everyone the tools. That's it. Like, to me, it should be that your hand is held. I almost want that thing. I think it's more twisted that they give you the illusion that you think you're better than you are, but at least you know what to do. And then when you go out into the real world, so you leave that village or leave that first town, and the world kicks your fucking ass, and then you're like, oh shit, like. That's more twisted, and that's more Corepunk than like just not giving you anything. Like, give us the illusion. Let us do a full circle of a quest. Like you were saying, like you always do that first quest. It kind of holds your hand and then go right. Like, do that and then make the world hard. Don't make the world hard so then no one plays it, because that's exactly what will happen. Because we're all, you know, we've all played games. If the game doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be an MMO. If a game's shit in the first 10 minutes, or the game's too gated, like I love racing games. Racing games, chef's kiss. But the new Forza is like, to upgrade your car, it's literally leveled. Like, to get the new tires for that car, you have to drive that car loads just to put a spoiler on it. Boring. Uninstalled, like, because it's gated too high. Of course you want the best things for the best people, but like, give us some sweets first before you screw us over.
Yeah. To respect the time, we are going on to the last topic now, which is
go on, this is exciting.
So Playtest 3 is going to hit the 2nd December, which is pretty soon. I want to say something regarding the day. It's really annoying for me because, you know, the new World of Warcraft experience, Season of Discovery, basically Classic Plus, is releasing 2 days before this playtest, which really screws up my calendar with content. But I mean, that's a me problem. That's not your problem. That's a me problem. Can someone remind us what we are looking forward for in Playtest 3?
I believe we're looking at the full crafting thing, aren't we? Like all the different crafting stuff that we've seen previously, from what I remember.
They do want to put in the Ranger, don't they? But they're not sure if they're gonna be able to get it. Yeah, the polishing.
You would love that, wouldn't you? You'd absolutely.
I'd love it, man. I'd love it. I just really want. I'd love to try another class and another hero. Well, yeah, just another class of the heroes. I must say that I'm so. What am I trying to say? What is it? I'm shocked at how much I've liked all the classes that I've played, all the heroes and classes that I've played. Because usually I would just be that sort of ranger or hunter or something like that. But in both these playtests, I've really enjoyed playing the warmonger and I really enjoyed playing champion. So that's a really positive thing about the game. Like, the classes are all feel very different, but are all fun to play. Yeah, but I think in the next playtest it's going to be the crafting and hopefully another person and an expanded area.
So that's exactly what they say, isn't it? So it's the hope it's going to be focused on crafting. They're going to implement that system in all of its, you know, because we kind of had it with a cooking, but obviously, like, it's such a tiny aspect. Like you were saying, Blackout, we're seeing such small parts of the actual overall ecosystem, and only having one part doesn't create the ecosystem. So things will always not be representative of how they're going to be. I think having another, if they get the Ranger polished, would be nice. What's interesting about that and my expectations for Playtest 3 is that if they're only just making the Ranger ready, they definitely haven't done the other classes that we know about. Like, and that kind of...
Yeah, I've had the same thought. It's like, are they like not done at all, or are they 99.9% done and they just need those extra little touches on them?
Because I when we've I think I reflect back on our podcasts and our discussions in chats and stuff, like, they've built these classes because they work in sync with each other. Like, the three we've played, if you have a warmonger, you have a blast medic, and you have the destroyer, you've got a nice little trifecta of they work together. And I also wonder them, like, maybe and they do say in the article that, of course, it's not the final representation of the game, but, like, I do wonder if they're not implementing all these things. At what point, and I think we said it earlier on, is like, at what point will we start playing Corepunk as opposed to playing an early iteration of it, which we wouldn't expect to be perfect. So, you know, from play tests, which are obviously structured but could do with communicating better of what we're actually doing, to, oh, actually, this is the game now, just not with everything included. And I wonder where that happens, because Playtest 3, I'm not an experienced beta tester. I've been in betas, but generally betas, when you get into it for a consumer, it's like you're kind of at 95% complete, aren't you? And you play the 1 or 2 betas and they do an open weekend and then the game's out. Like, we're 3 playtests in for this, going to be monthly, which is brilliant, by the way. Hey presto, fantastic that they're actually sticking to that time scale. But I worry, and my concern from Playtest 3 is that, yeah, they're adding this thing, but to add everything to make it the game, how many playtests is that? Because it feels like it's going to be a lot.
Well, the crazy thing is that they were initially going for early access in December.
Yeah, which just said
So,
they're
like,
not gonna hit now, were they?
so when did it go from being confident enough to sort of mention that to now being like, we're only putting crafting in on Playtest 3, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not. It sounds really fucking bratty. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll just say it again.
It's a big change to go from early access to just adding crafting in Playtest 3.
I have a theory. So, do you remember when they said that they were using friends and family and AI to test the game?
Yeah.
What if the AI has come to its absolute limit of what they can get, and they want to introduce players which may have different, more chaotic ideas than the AI might have, and we are literally just there to test those things? They don't care about us running around completing quests. They just want to know if we can break the quest system, not the quest, the crafting system, by doing things that humans do and doing strange stuff. So that like AI is only as logical as the person who programs it, right? So that could be what they're doing here. That could literally be it. And if that's the case, then I wish they'd just tell us. I genuinely
it falls back to communication for me. That is always the crux of all these things. Like, I have my opinions. We all have our opinions. We're only presented with so much information, and just like we have done up until the last 2 months, we've always been purely speculative because the answer hasn't been there. But if the answer's there, like, for me, I'd be more reassured if we went off what you just said there, Blackout, where
exactly.
We've got the game, but these are the bits we just need to sort.
Yeah,
and we don't know what
the game in a really bad light as well.
Yeah, because for me now it just feels like actually they've only got this first, maybe second town. They've got maybe 4 heroes. The quests are kind of what they are. The crafting system might be okay. We don't know. And like, that isn't selling what we've been sold.
Yeah,
but
at
if
the
it
moment,
if it is what they said, and the game is ready, and like you say, we're just the final pieces of that puzzle for them to go, here's the game, that'd be brilliant. But give us an idea.
But the thing is, though, as well, they're giving this game, they're putting it in the hands of majority content creators, and I had messages directly from people saying that the game is absolute trash and it makes them want to glare horribly at a puppy. They felt that bad about the game, and I'm thinking, like, well, if we're not being communicated this information that's to these content creators, then best case scenario, they stop making content about the game. Worst case scenario, they start slandering the game, and someone might think, screw it, I'm going to just break the NDA. I'm just going to publish this information because I'm so mad at the game. I've invested 4 years of my attention in this. I'm just going to put it out there. And then all of a sudden, because of this lack of communication, some disgruntled content creator, paints the game in a really bad light. And it can be easily avoided.
Which is sort of scary for the idea that you have that this is a testing area, because from Playtest 3, I think we're hoping that we're allowed to start showing the game.
This is a worry that I've had.
So if this is a testing area, then we need to be told, because we're going to absolutely demolish it for content. You know what I mean? If we can start filming and showing it, we're going to be showing so much of this game. And if this isn't a full representation of what the game is going to be, don't let us do it. Don't let us put
Or
out videos of the game right now if this isn't the game.
100%.
Tell
I agree.
us, or tell us
it's
that.
not.
Yeah, tell us that
this is a
this is the
playtest
testing
area. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that is vital.
Like just
'Cause
having stuff like they need to say to us, if you're making content, you need to put on this and clear at the top. You know, this is an early alpha build, and lots could change and lots could be broke. You know, just kind of like the obligatory disclaimer to make sure that everyone who does make that content is making it clear it's not fully representative of the game. I mean, assuming it's not fully representative of the game. I hope it's not.
Yeah, but they
Genuinely
do
hope
say
it's
it in the article. But yeah, to
Yeah.
have an actual strap line of, if we get emails saying, "Here's playtest 3, here's what we need you to say," because, like you say, the majority of people who are in the playtest are content creators, and for better or worse, because like we've all got our flaws. We're all not perfect. We're all not the best gamers on the planet. But if we at least get told what narrative they want us to, and not make us say words, like we have our own opinions, but give us the facts. Like if this is a playtest area, my opinion drastically changes from if this is the game. Like you say, if this is the game, I've got concerns. If this is a playtest area, much different.
Yeah, it's like giving someone a cake and then say, "I'll try my cake," but it turns out you're just eating a raw egg, and you say, "Well, that's a terrible cake." It's like,
It's an
you need to-
awful
you-
cake.
You need to tell people that it's not quite ready yet. It's just one part of it. It's one ingredient of this cake.
So regarding this playtest, I think it's a bit funny because normally when you play a game, when you're testing it, you call it alpha, beta, something like that. This is playtest. So if this is really a playtest, it actually means it's before alpha, which means we are basically playing something even before pre-alpha. We're playing the playtest, which then pre-alpha comes alpha and beta. And if we are still in the first stage of all those 4 stages, is the game then ready for early access? And I somehow feel like this game maybe should have had an NDA on, which also limited us for actually talking about it. Because I feel like some of the things that we might have said on this podcast, might have said in our previous videos, could paint the game a bit, bad as it is right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's only at the fault of the developer at that stage, because we need, like, if you give us free will, and that is the best form of testing, because we are human and we will, fuck around finding hazelnuts, and like that's what humans are good at. That's why you have these tests. But give us the narrative, like give us something, communication, because I don't want to look back on my own content, but I will stand by it because the information we're given at the time is why I have these opinions and thoughts, because this is what I've been presented with. I can only work off what I'm given and guess with, like you're saying, expectation of playtest 3. I guess this crafting system probably will be good. Why is it only that being implemented? Like, they're not telling us, so I have to form my own opinion on that. And I think it's only then, once we've got the communications, and they don't have a community manager. Is that a massive issue? I think at this stage, maybe, because the only people who are talking about the game are the people who've played it, and that is increasing numbers. Like, the first 21 was a hand-picked 21 who obviously have a passion, a care, they've created content. But the more you open up that playtest, and especially like Carl, like we said, I even forgot about it's hopefully not going to be NDA, but you could potentially have a couple hundred people who aren't that fussed about Corepunk, maybe get invited, aren't under NDA, and just slag it to high hell because it's not what the game
Expected.
is. Or like you say, the playtest, because we are here and we need to be the other way. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. We've got a long way to go, which then makes me question why they ever said early access. Because
I just want to say as well, if we have spoken negatively, like, it's from a place of sort of passion and love for the game, and none of us here are sort of saying that we don't know how privileged we are to be seeing the game at this early. in the process, and we know that that's probably why a lot of our negativity is there, because it is early. But we wouldn't be doing our jobs if we weren't speaking honest, would we? You know what I mean? And that's that point where it comes back to sort of that communication, like Mike said. Like if you know that something's broken in the game, or you want us to test something specific, let us know. So then we're not mentioning it. We're not turning around and saying, "Oh, the health regen's bugged." Oh no, it's actually working. You know what I mean? It worked exactly as they intended, but we all thought it was bugged out.
Yeah, because that was the crux of everyone's discussion. Playtest 1 and 2, to an extent, was mana regen. If they'd have told us after Playtest 1, that's how it is, because they did review it, they did put an article out after, and it's wild that they wouldn't have told us that, and told us after Playtest 2 when, you know, because one of my feedback was the mana regen's still bugged, but it wasn't. It was fine all along. You know, just communicate.
What are your expectations, Dvalin? We've not let you speak too much. We've just been riffing. What are your expectations?
No, I've enjoyed listening. I mean, again, as you said in the article, it says basically the next playtest it will be about crafting, which I'm not keen about. So I'll probably run around after Blackout, watch him craft and make me items. Be like, give me items.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think we can jump to the last one. I mean, I'm looking forward to the next playtest, hoping we see more like crafting areas. I hope we might even get into that zone they showed in that 1 hour video, where he actually, you know, visit that big city with all the crafting tables. That would be so awesome, running around in there.
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great.
So before we wrap up, do we have any last thing we want to say about the game, or anything else you want to say?
I think the developers need to be involved in conversations like this. Have open and frank, honest conversations with them. Like, to be able to get Eugene and Pishak on this podcast would be amazing. Not just from like a content point of view, just from actually being able to talk to them and have these conversations with them, so that, you know, we can see what their view and perspective is on the game. Whether they'd be able to share anything or not be a separate issue, but I think that would be really valuable for them more than anything.
100%. I'd agree with that, because I mean, I think I've said communication more times than anything else in the last 2 podcasts I've done, because it quells any rumors. Because the thing when you're not given information is you have to guess with your best knowledge, and everyone has their own opinion. Everything's so subjective, like, unless there's facts. And if you do have someone who, whilst they might not be able to tell you the meat of the content, like you say, they might not be able to share a lot. If if you ask a question and go, "Oh, this is a concern of mine," they can easily go, "Well, actually, whilst I can't share the details, blah, 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 blah." And then it quells that rumor, because if you're making content and you're only going off what you've been given, and there's nothing to indicate the contrary, like, that video will still go out. It will be seen by people, and obviously people view our content because they want someone's opinion. And if we can't be informed and give opinions based on fact, because there are no facts to give, it will be very easy. Like I say, these playtests are getting bigger. It'll only take one person to make an angry rant video, break DNA, possibly NDA. Maybe they break DNA. They could be a mad scientist. But these things are very damaging, and for a developer like this, where it could so easily be not, you know, the rumors could be put to bed very easy by just simply communicating. The benefits seems so obvious. I know they're probably busy, but like a couple of hours out of someone's day to actually have a sit down with content creators and them, so you can ask the question and get an instant answer. Like, there's none of this like up in the air stuff. I think they save themselves from a PR perspective, like, then it's like, oh, these guys talk and they have an idea and here's the vision of the game, rather than letting us go nearly 2 months thinking a very simple mana and health regen's bugged, and it's not. Like, it shouldn't get to 2 months to tell us that.
Gotta say, they've been a lot better with communication than they have been ever, though, at the moment. And it's great to see that they are hitting dates and they are at least acknowledging what's going on and putting stuff out there. Because I didn't expect that big post that came straight after Playtest 2 at all, to be honest. It's now surprising when we get communication because it was so long. We were such in a drought for so long but yeah, we do need better communication regarding what to test in the playtest. And yeah, get Eugene on this podcast and then get him on our podcast. You know,
you can have Eugene. We'll have P-Chat.
Yeah, we'll share him. Yeah.
So long as we get that conversation with them, I don't suppose it matters whose podcast they're on, really.
No,
does
it doesn't. And
no, it doesn't. No, exactly. Yeah.
For me, that communication is, like, there isn't a community manager. And, like, I think that's massive.
I think Eugene is the community manager, is he not? Did he not take up the mantle now since?
Well, I mean, he is the producer, the creative director.
Like, by proxy, yeah. But you need that person where it's their job to put out these things because, like you say, they're probably busy. But if they could tell one person who could then formulate an article, have a discussion with people who are interested and want to know, like, you're going to sell that game way better than how us going, is this a playtest area? Is this the game? Is crafting crap? Is this like, yeah, I'd just sound like a broken horse now, so I'll shut up.
Looking at my YouTube analytics, one of the biggest Corepunk related searches is Corepunk gameplay. People are looking for that gameplay, and if we put out content that is not truly representative of the game, I'm not saying paint it in its best light, paint it in its true light, then they're going to get a bad idea of it and it's going to put them off the game. And literally there's like millions of eyeballs ready to look for it. Like, we've had an MMO drought for how many years? Like, the whole genre stagnated. People are looking for MMOs. So
well, you can imagine a bigger content creator, your Asmund or your Force Gaming or something like Force Gaming's already covered Corepunk a few times in little update videos. And once a gameplay video comes out, whether you know what I mean, it could be any of our videos that gets picked up by one of them and discussed, and then it's out there to a mass audience,
And that's very important because, like, let's say Asmon, he's on one of his streams, he has 40,000 people watching. He decides to Google Corepunk videos and he finds a video with Stumble for 40 minutes talking badly about the game. Not that you made that, but you know what I mean. Like,
no, it's fair. Yeah,
that's discoverable, isn't it? And that those things are like, again, like I said, we put our opinions because we're only given what we're given. If you give us a tool set, and like you say, if we can comfortably say this is a playtest, this isn't representative of the end game, and I can put that at the beginning of my thoughts video. It's much better than me just going, I played Corepunk for 22 hours, and here's all the things that I fucking hated about it. I died, and then play a 10-minute death montage, and then I'm like, and you can't even craft in the game, and there's no talents, and like, I could make that video. It's not true, but I could, because I've got nothing else to go, well, actually, that's not the case, other than morals and actually playing the playtest. But someone could make it, and how many people would watch it and go, oh, did you see that video? And like say, play on a massive 40,000 person stream, that's 40,000 people who go, not playing that game. Cool, next. And it's like, we don't want that, because I'm sure we can all say we can see the potential. A game I think will be fucking brilliant, but just needs to, it either needs to cook, or we need to know where we are. Because like you say, are we just eating the egg of the cake, or is this the cake but they've dusted it in arsenic so it has a nasty taste? Like, for me
it feels like it still feels like it's at least 6 months away from being anywhere near an early access, especially with like the balancing issues of the crafting stuff. Like you were saying, like making that Bob's Burger, you're making 4 items and it gives you less than one of the initial materials that you use to craft it. It's like, and then the questing system of where the first quest leads you, because like we said, you go into that level 10 area. And that's for quest 1. So if you then grinded to get to that level to be able to go and do that quest, you'd already have all your spells unlocked, and you've not even done the first quest yet. You know, it's like it still feels like it's a long time away from being in an early access where I think it would be beneficial for the game. I think if it came out in early access now, I think it'd just get soured. I just think it'd be really bad for the game.
It's pretty important that the game is in a good state before they take money from it, because we all saw what happened to Wayfinder, which was a very anticipated game. Everyone's like me, I was so hyped for it. I've used over $200 on that game because I bought everything. And then it comes out and it's unplayable for 3 weeks because of the servers wasn't ready, because they decided that 2,000 people is enough for testing the game on the same time, and then they release it and 50,000 people tries to play it at the same time, and nope, not possible. So for 3 weeks it wasn't playable, and when people got in, dungeons didn't work, people got disconnected, shit like that. So Corepunk definitely needs to be in a spot where the game has to be at least good working before they start taking money, because the moment you take money from people, they get very well.
They have an expectation of return on investment, then, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's a massive thing. Like Blackout said, we're in an MMO drought. This is the perfect. If you were ever going to release an MMO that's a bit different, it's new, it's fresh, it's innovative, all these things, now is the time. You've got a golden ticket here, because I hate using the term WoW killers and all that stuff. I don't think they exist. I think all MMOs have a place in the MMO universe. That's why they exist. But to slot into that market and be up there with WoW, Guild Wars, Elder Scrolls, Final Fantasy 14, you've got it. You
could see Corepunk there, couldn't you?
100%. People always say, "Oh, I'd love a top-down, WoW, Lord of the Rings." Jesus Christ, Mike. League of Legends, they want that top-down experience as an MMO. It's there.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. They get the environments and, the characters when you were playing with them, like we were saying, chucking them spells. It is fun to play as your character. You know what I mean? It's great to traverse the world and just go and chop down a tree and stuff. It's just but it just feels like you're battling against the game at times.
I want to take something back that I've said previously.
Go on.
I've done 180 on the cosmetics. I'm totally digging it now. I like it.
Yeah, nice.
Walking around with a pumpkin on my head for that whole.
I was going to say, every time I've seen you in a playtest, you've got something on your head. I'm just
yeah. Turns out I like hats.
Fancy hats for Blackout.
Yeah. So what if we had one kind of wish for the next playtest, something that we'd like to see included in that? What would that one thing be?
That wish would probably be, the good ending, since we are soon on 1 hour and 30 minutes.
I'll tell you what mine is and give you a chance to think about that. And I know that it's unlikely that they would see this, but I would love to see a guild system implemented in the game to let us test that as well, for 2 reasons. One, it'd be cool to just see the guilds in place, and the other is to be able to hopefully see more people in a group on the map when we're running around. It's nice to run around in a group of 4, but often we found that we're playing in groups of larger than 4, and it'd be really nice to be able to sort of say, okay, well, we're on a bloody guild, and we can see each other, we can run around as a group, as a guild together, as opposed to just disconnected groups of 4 people. That's what I would love to see, just to test, just to see what the experience is like.
All right.
I'd love to see a dungeon, a playable dungeon, because I was saying that it'd just be nice to be able to come away and be like, this is something really cool, that this is why you're going to want to play. You know what I mean? Instead of, because all we've seen at the moment is just mobs. It'd be great to be able to we did this dungeon and it was so much fun. The 4 of us were playing together, and now is it, just to have that sort of cool story. But I don't think we'll get it in Playtest 3. But yeah, I think that's what I'm waiting for now with Corepunk, is that sort of that cool story I can tell the boys after and be like, this is why you want to play Corepunk, because this is what's going to be great. It's going to be great fun, you know.
Nice. My wish is I think we talked about, I want a max level playtest. And I know that sounds crazy, but I think
That'd be cool.
we've talked about it in the podcast. Give us preset build. They have a vision of end games, so they know what they want the destroyer to be. They know what the warmonger to be. Give us the relevant artifacts. Make us max level. Give us an area where the mobs are that level, so you can see what that experience is. Just give us that. And make it a playtest area. It doesn't have to be in the world. It can be like as it is now. Here's the radiation zone, but all the mobs you'll be able to kill. We've not added any quests. There's PvP, but just max level. So then I can see where my 100 odd hours of getting that first class up to max level and geared is going to feel like. Because I feel like talking about the guild system, talking about all the other things, I feel like that then for me would be like, this is why you need to play it. Because could you imagine telling that story? Like, there was 20 of us, we were all max level, we were all fighting this world boss or whatever it is. We did some PvP. We killed Eugene again. It was great. I want that story. I want that story and I want to be able to sell that. And I feel like I'm so far away from knowing what that is up here at the moment. I know what crafting's going to be. I feel like I can imagine that. I can't imagine what a max level character looks like or how that plays at all. That'd be my wish.
Amen.
What about yours, Dvalin?
Well, you kind of stole it because was about to say dungeons as well. They have teased it.
Sorry.
They teased it one time in a video. So, was that a fake gameplay? Do they actually have a dungeon kind of ready for us? So I would love to see, just any kind of dungeon, even if it's one room with one boss, just seeing the mechanic that it works, going to this portal, clicking on it, coming in, going out, resetting it somehow, going again, just see how it works. I would love. So I actually have two wishes. I hope for a dungeon and somehow easier to get artifacts, because I still haven't in both playtest 1 and 2 managed to get a single artifact.
Yeah, same.
They make the difference. They certainly do. I remember the numbers just from having two of the... Were they steroid injector? The red... I can't remember what they were called. But I picked up two of them and suddenly I was more powerful. You want that candy on a stick, carrot on a stick, and I feel like that's also why I picked that idea of a max playtest where they've given you the build because that's what they intend that character to be, and I feel like you gain a lot because we can kind of I feel like I know what the Warmonger plays like, and I know what the Blast Medic plays like at level 2, 3, but we also know that isn't what it's going to be like at max level at all. So I want, give me now.
I'll tell you where to get them from. If assuming they keep it the same in the next test, the corpses on the floor, that's where you get the artifacts from. That's pretty much where I got all of mine from, which is rummaging
is that in
through
the forest?
Of skeletons. Just anywhere, literally on the floor.
I've seen them about because I think that's where I got the mana injector thing for that quest.
You don't see them too much around the town, but then if you go into, what is it called, Skylight Meadow or something, or Skylight something. There's a couple in there where you can grab some stuff, but there's tons of them scattered around the evil forest place where all the wolves and imps are. I was finding myself dashing in and raiding corpses,
running over a few and then running away.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, we didn't even talk about the aggro, the ridiculous aggro on them imps, but I think we can save that for another day.
Yeah,
that's crazy. You see that boar far away, and it's like, I see you, and I'm gonna follow you for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah,
we're gonna pick up a load of friends on the way. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Any last comments before I'm gonna wrap this up?
No, I'm just going to say cheers for having us, and we
you.
should do this again. Do it, yeah. Get yourselves over to ours, or we'll come here again, whatever you want.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
When we actually let's see the next playtest if it's gonna have NDA or not, and if not, we can make tons of content about it, talk about it, and so on. But okay, yeah, Blackout, did you have any last words? Are you fine?
No, I'm good. I mean, I'm thinking if there is no NDI, I'm kind of worried that you might explode from making content. You know, that is the worry. That you might forget to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, still, if you go to any search engine and search out Corepunk, I'm still in there. I'm still Dvalin Corepunk.
Oh, I know. Don't you worry. I've been trying to get up there for ages.
Well, it actually, far below me, there's actually one called Corepunk Podcast. So
wait, what are we searching though?
Who are those guys?
Just-
They sound like they need a follow.
just purely Corepunk. It's purely Corepunk, and I think I can even add it. No, I can't add it in here. Oh, never mind. But yeah, it's funny to see that.
Can I just point out, if we type in Corepunk Warmonger in incognito, there's my video right there at the top.
Yes. Well
Yeah,
done,
so if you
Blackout.
want the black market of Corepunk, then Blackout's your guy apparently, because incognito, it's like the shady side of Corepunk.
Yeah, and do you know, I ain't got. I was at one point. I was top on like all of the different hero types, but I've been knocked off on a couple of them.
Yeah.
Well, you both are the content creators that me and Mike saw first, and we started our channel after seeing you boys. So, yeah, thank you for being inspiration to us, at least. You know.
Yeah, it's nice, and it's nice to chat with. I mean, I know we talk in text, but like voice chat, you can certainly say a lot more and articulate words a bit easier. But it's been fun. I've enjoyed this.
Yep.
Nice.
Me too.
Okay, let's wrap this up then. But before we wrap up, we have to do the official. We gotta do it. We gotta do the shout out. So again, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you watched, listen to this on Spotify, anywhere you've listened to this, you can find Blackout on YouTube. Just search for Blackout Gaming Channel in one word, and you'll find him, or do youtube.com/Blackout Gaming Channel. And of course, Stumble Through and Mike Plays. You can find them both on the Corepunk Podcast, which again, youtube.com/Corepunk Podcast. And for sure, you can find all the other links on their videos in there. And of course, in the description of this video, you will find all the links to all the relevant challenges on all the people being on the podcast. So again, Blackout, Stumble, Mike, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Cheers.
Okay.
Peace out.
Yeah.